Mucarsel-Powell of Florida. And MSNBC contributor Mike Barnicle joins the discussion as well. Congresswoman, Florida looks like it's next in terms of having some staggering numbers at the rate we're going. What are you hearing in terms of supplies being in place for the people who will need it, and also testing in Florida? Where does it stand?
Good morning, Mika. Look, I've been getting calls from healthcare providers that they are going to be running out of supplies within the next few days. So this morning I sent a letter to Governor DeSantis asking him to put a stay-at-home order for the entire state, just like what we were saying. Do not conduct this, try to control this pandemic and the spread of the virus here in the state of Florida by conducting patchwork solutions. We need to start being proactive, not reactive. For 2 weeks now, we have been having communication with the Department of Health. And 2 weeks ago, they couldn't accept or declare the fact that we had community spread. We have over 1,000 cases here in the state of Florida, almost a third of them here in Miami-Dade County. Monroe County, which I also represent, has already closed down their hotels, their restaurants. Economically, we have already seen a huge impact in our economy, but we're not going to be able to start our road to an economic recovery if we can't control the spread of the virus. We have a very vulnerable population in the state of Florida. Almost a quarter of the people that live here are seniors over the 60 years old. And so I am just concerned that the governor is not taking appropriate action.
You know, Mike Barnicle, it's really incredible that Ron DeSantis has continued to let people congregate on beaches all over the state of Florida. We had pictures of people on sandbars just jammed together in boats partying this weekend. This weekend, as Americans are dying. And the president won't aggressively use the Defense Production Act. He won't put this country into a national lockdown when healthcare officials and business leaders were begging him to do it 2 weeks ago.
Joe, if you talk to a lot of experts, I was fortunate enough to spend most of Friday afternoon around one of the greatest hospitals in the world, Brigham and Women's here in Boston. You find out their view of what they're looking at and what they're dealing with every day. And in the case of Governor DeSantis of Florida, he's going exactly the opposite way from what the experts, the people on the front lines, indicate ought to be done. The first thing we need is fact-based truth from public officials. That's what they will tell you. You get it here in Massachusetts from Charlie Baker. You're getting it from Andrew Cuomo in New York, Gavin Newsom in California, the governors of Illinois and Michigan. You're getting fact-based truth. The second thing they talk about is that there is absolutely no need, and in fact it's kind of dangerous, to have these daily pep rallies from the White House led by the president and the vice president. That what you do need is you need Anthony Fauci and a stream of epidemiologists, experts in their field, to stand up and again tell the country the fact-based truth. And that leads to our biggest dilemma, Joe, and you know what it is. In order to solve this problem, in order to really combat and defeat this virus, or at least put it in abeyance, is you need nearly total buy-in from the American public, nearly total buy-in from what they're going to be asked to do, and they will do it. They've shown in the past that they will do it. But it's hard to get total buy-in from the American public when the person asking for that total buy-in sometimes is Donald Trump, who has spent 40 months dividing the country. I mean, you can look, we've all gone back and look at the past talk of the past 4 or 5 weeks, hoaxes, it's a myth, it's going to go away, only 15 people have it, all of that. But we have to fight ourselves and put that in the background, because there's a vehicle to take care of all the lies and all the incompetence that the American public has been dealt. And that vehicle is called an election, and it's held in November.
Then that's what I've been saying. You're so right, Mike. We'll worry about all this in the fall. What we can do is what we can do right now. What the president can do is what the president can do right now moving forward. Jonathan Lemire, it is so interesting that healthcare officials are warning us about how savage this pandemic could be with Americans if we don't do the right things. And yet you have Mike Pence going out just about every other day going, in effect, just Americans, you need to know it's not really that serious. It's not really that dangerous. It's not going to impact most of you. And he's just sending the absolutely wrong message to those teenagers who are going to a beach, to those teenagers and college students that are going out on sandbars and congregating in the hundreds, and then taking that pandemic home to their parents and grandparents and possibly killing them.
You're right, Joe, and more than that, the president is now declaring a message himself that seems directly in contradiction with what his health experts are advising him, and potentially could make matters far worse. We talked about his tweet last night about saying about the 15 days. He is on a, while we're sitting here, on a retweet binge, all on the same idea, that after 15 days, perhaps, he's suggesting, this moment of national isolation should already be ended. The idea that America should go back to work, that there's an impatience there from the president that he's ignoring from his health experts, setting up a real confrontation with Dr. Fauci and others if he continues on this track. I had a question also for the Congresswoman. You know, we obviously right now the state of the fiscal stimulus bill is up in the air. It's in limbo. The Senate is working on it. But can you give us an update as to what House Speaker Pelosi has told you and how quickly you need to be set to mobilize to get back to Washington if this deal does get struck today?
At this point, we are not in agreement with the Senate, with the Republican Senate proposal, and we're going to be working on our own package. Our main concern is it doesn't have enough funding to support our healthcare infrastructure. Again, we need to control the spread of this virus. We also need to make sure that American families, American workers are able to get a paycheck, get that cash influx, that capital influx. We can't pass a $500 billion economic stimulus package just to support large companies without having workers' rights being protected. I can tell you that I'm getting calls on a daily basis from constituents here that have already lost their jobs. We need to ensure that not only they get cash into their pockets, but that those that are still employed can remain employed. We agree with the small business part of this deal, but at this point, we're going to be having a conversation later on today to talk more about the details, but we support paid family leave. We need to expand the sick days that many companies are not right now enforcing. We need to make sure that states protect unemployment benefits. In the state of Florida, we have the lowest rate of unemployment insurance, and we have been asking the governor to raise the unemployment insurance. We need to enhance that as well. But at this moment, we are still in talks, and we will be told when we need to get back to D.C. I am one who supports the fact that we need to look at ways where we can actually legislate while we are in our districts, while we are home working here, because it could put a lot of us in danger if we have to travel back to D.C. for a vote. But we need to put the American families and American workers first.
All right, Congresswoman, thank you so much.
Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, thank you very much.
We really appreciate it. And Mika, there is not a single scientist, there's not a single